recording, and then I'll share my screen with you, and we shall get this party started. Well, not much going on in the markets today. Just kidding. Let's take a look at what happened and kind of analyze it for a second. There are some reload opportunities. What I mean by reload opportunities is I feel that there's some opportunities here to reload on the dollar. I emailed Phil before class. Well, Phil emailed me about 10 minutes before the non-farm payroll announcement and asked me for my views on it. And I was just like most of the people in the market looking at the non-farm payroll this morning, was the fact that the February number, even though the non-farm payroll change today, when you look at it, is plus 257. One of the big things from the non-farm payroll number was also the fact that they revised the December number to a positive 353. That's a huge revision. Obviously, all was strong for the dollar. Even though this did not really blow expectations out of the water, it wasn't like a plus 40 or plus 50 as far as the amount of the non-farm payroll, the change. It was still enough to where there was so much, there was a lot of bearishness on the dollar built into this announcement, because historically the February number, when you look back on a graph through the February number going back several years, and don't worry folks, there's trading opportunities up here, and I'll go through those if I see them hit. You look historically in the February number, which is the January number, and it's historically come out below expectations. I think there was a lot of bearishness just built up into the expectation, because February, you got your snowstorms, you got everything that to where, if it came out in line with expectations, I believe it would have come out good for the dollar. And in this case, it came out, 20K above expectations, which normally that would not lead generally the dollar charge we saw after the announcement. But in this case, we were able to get a huge dollar rally, just because I think that most traders were on the side of it being a disappointing number. And you could kind of see that going into the announcement when you look at the Swiss and you look at the Euro going into the announcement. This is on an hourly chart. On a lot of these pairs, the yen and a lot of these pairs on here, you see that there was a lot of dollar weakness kind of going into the announcement. And then the dollar just rallied strong. And I think there are opportunities here to reload on the dollar. One thing we'll be looking for, and I'll keep it up in class here, is let's bring up total view. I'm going to go to a 24-hour here. The euro, which we always look at as kind of being a dog of the market, and the dollar still was near the bottom, and it's just now coming up a little bit, ticking up here on total view. It's one of those to where it's, like I said, there was a lot of bearishness. It was very well offered, not well bid at all going into the announcement, and that's what caused a lot of the fundamental shock over the last 24 hours. But we still have our euro down here, which is one of our dogs of the market, and that's something that we'll be looking for opportunities on. Keep an eye on this 5-minute total right up in here, because on this 5-minute total, if it goes to a negative 20, I like taking a short position, or if the dollar Swiss goes to a plus 20, we're going to also look for an opportunity to get in. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if we can get those 5-minute totals to a nice little buy or sell imbalance to where we feel comfortable reloading on the dollar. Till that happens, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll go through some other scenarios. Nick mentioned the dollar Canadian. One thing that should also be noted, man, look at that yen. That's one. I was actually long the yen going into the announcement. I'll go into that here in just a second. I had kind of a free trade on that one, so I went ahead and stayed long on a yen position. But let me go to some of these other scenarios here. Somebody just asked, well, what we mean by reload is this is obviously good for the dollar. So when we say reload, we mean that if we see an opportunity to go long the dollar again after this announcement, you see it comes up, comes back down and retraces. There we go. Dollar Swiss just hit our plus 20. We're going to go ahead and go in and do We're going to go ahead and buy the dollar Swiss. We're going to put in a 20 pip stop and a 20 pip take profit for right now. We can actually go a little bit less. We'll go 16 on that. 16 pips. Let's go ahead and buy that. There we go. Keep an eye on that dollar Swiss. If this 5-minute total goes to a negative 20, we'll get out. But for right now, we're going to go long dollar Swiss. We got 2 micros on, looking for 16 pips. I'm going to go ahead and change that over to a 5-minute chart. And we'll keep an eye on that bad boy. Also keep an eye on this euro over here. Normally you wouldn't. They've been highly correlated to one another, but I don't see anything wrong with going long the dollar on any of these positions right now. And if we lose, we lose. All right, let me bring this up once again here. I'll keep this dollar Swiss up here because I'll keep an eye on that. Make sure if it goes to negative 20, we'll be certainly getting out of that. Should be in pretty good shape right now, up about 4 pips on it. All right. One thing not to be missed here. Oh, another good thing about the non-farm payroll announcement this morning. You know, on Forex Factory, they'll generally they'll rate currencies. You know, news announcements, I should say, based on their importance. The average hourly earnings is one that a lot of traders have been focusing on as of late. It came in really disappointing this past in the last payroll announcement. And this is another one to where it gives us opportunities with the average hourly earnings being a plus 0.5. That ticking up really, that's a really good thing for the dollar also. So that's another thing that could give us some bullish momentum on the dollar right there. But another one, generally, when you're looking at something like the dollar Canadian also, their employment numbers came out very well over in this morning's employment reports, because they release at the same time as the dollar, and the Canadian tends to have more of a delayed reaction to after the dollar news hits. The Canadian employment reports tends to kind of lag it a little bit. When you look at the Canadian number over in here, you can see that, you know, out of all these different currencies, you have the dollar rose up strongly against all of them, and you see this little spinning top on the dollar Canadian. That's kind of a battle being waged between the dollar and the CAD as far as the overall tradability, if you will, because both numbers came out correctly, so came out way above expectations. So you might see a bit of a. Now let me change this over. Actually, let me bring up my total view, because I want to actually bring this up on a. Let me bring this back to 1 hour and 5 minutes. And that's one that I might also consider as far as tradability goes. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on dollar CAD right up in there. All right. So you see dollar Canadian here, 5-minute time frame. You can see that there's been a tug of war between the dollar and the CAD. Keep an eye on this 5-minute totals. The Canadian might be one for a scalping situation if this 5-minute total goes to a negative 20 of going long Canadian, because you might see a large amount of up and down shifts on dollar CAD because the news was so good for Canadian and it was good for the dollar. So that tug of war, if we wanted to take a dollar, a contrarian dollar trade, if you will, there might be a little tug of war here between it and the CAD, and so this might present us with some opportunities based on the historical delayed reaction to possibly go short on dollar Canadian, which may sound funny to you, but it is an opportunity that could present itself. So keep an eye on the 5-minute totals here on dollar CAD. We'll take a look at it and see if that might give us an opportunity to go short on dollar Canadian. Let's see where we're at with our trades in here. Let me see. Let's go to trade. Whoops. What did I do? I accidentally lost my terminal here. Okay, so we're up about 11 pips right now on dollar Swiss. We're about 6 pips away from our, about 4.5 pips away from our take profit level. Let's see if that can get hit real quick. This 5-minute total has been hanging really well above this 20 level, so I'm hoping that it can make that. All we need is just a couple of ticks on that, and that should be able to come up and hit our take profit. With a plus 38 on here, let me keep an eye on this one for a second. So we just placed this before class. See if we can't get a hit on that for a second. We would hate to give anything back on that trade if we're already up about 11 pips. So I really try to keep an eye on these 5-minute totals, though. You know, euro dollar, I know it's coming down. It's just the euro is one of the dogs. We're certainly looking for sell opportunities on that one also. In fact, let me change all of these over to 5-minute charts here real quick. See, going to a plus 50, plus 51. That's a nice little buy imbalance. Get into these situations and it's like, come on, boy. You know, and all you need to do is just tick up for me. Just, you know, just a couple of ticks. That's all I need, Mr. CAD. We always get into those kind of buy and hope scenarios sometimes. Come on. You feel like you're at a craps table in Vegas or something. It's like, come on, just 3 more pips. That's all I need. Let's see here. I'm also watching dollar Canadian over in here. That may be a good situation also. You see those bids really coming up here on dollar Swiss. You can see the dollars being very well bid. You can see the 1-hour totals are coming off. Basically, any retracements that we see on dollar Swiss or on euro dollar, I think is going to present us with some opportunities. Daryl just said, that horse needs to poke its nose through the fence. Yes, it does. The horse needs to poke its nose through the fence line. Come on, Mr. Ed. Poke that nose through. Somebody just asked. I did two micros on that because I'm at a position now to where I can do 2 micros without risking more than 2% of my account. Which, if you look, I recovered from my little drawdown there that I had at the beginning of the week from doing my one mini lot instead of my micro lot. See, when you're trading, you always want to watch things because you just don't want a huge, especially when you're up, you don't want to give back a lot. So I try to keep an eye on the totals. It was like a plus 60, and you just kind of keep an eye on if there's any massive shifts in the bid and ask activity. Plus 20 being our trigger, but whenever you get 20% swings in the bid and ask activity, sometimes that's kind of giving you a sign also to possibly close your position. So right now this thing's holding right up about 37. There we go. All right. So nice little take profit there at the beginning of class for 16 pips. And we'll keep an eye on these other 2 right over in here. Could it keep going up? Absolutely. But we took 16 pips off the table, and we're good with that. All right. So let's shift to our trade charts here. And let's go in here, and I'm going to close down this down in here. And let's get this set up in a situation to where we can we'll go over some other opportunities. Let me just bring these 3 up real quick. I want to put my PitView chart in the middle. Let me tile these. power my windows, and I'm going to put, you see I have my PitView indicator on my middle chart of what is kind of like what we look at as being our trade chart. And we can change some of these other symbols over in here. So yeah, I'm going to keep euro dollar there on the left hand side. I'll keep dollar CAD over here on the right hand side, and we'll see if we can't get any type of trigger on those two. All right, so while we're in here, now if dollar Swiss comes down and it goes negative again, the question comes up, do we have another play on dollar Swiss? Yeah, if the dollar Swiss here goes negative, and that what we wait for to reload a trade is we already got our 16 pips, all right, off the 1 hour total. I'm sorry, off the 5 minute total. We already captured our profit. If it goes back in the red and it shows the the market makers are evening out the bid and ask again, it goes red and it goes to a sell imbalance. If it turns back around and then goes to another buy imbalance, that's when we would look to possibly reload on a trade on back to the upside. Euro dollar, we're watching this one pretty close over in here also. But remember, when we're scalping, we 16 pips is not bad on that. All right, so let me here, hold on one second. Let me go down in here and whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Hold on, I need to pull up our trades from this past week. There we go. We've actually had some pretty good success with trades from this past week. Let me pull up our trading notes and do a little bit of review here. Let's see here. Dollar Swiss scalping strategy. As far as the scalping strategies go, we have had some opportunities for scalping on the dollar Swiss. The retracement, we did have some opportunities to buy into retracements on dollar Swiss. There's a couple of things. Let me go down to the one that was kind of the highlight for our trades from this past week. And am I looking at the wrong? Actually, yes, I am. I need to be looking at a different PitView strategy thing here. Let's see here. I need the 2-4. Where's 2-4 at? It's not on here. All right. Well, I remember it anyway. Sorry about that. That was from Monday's class, actually. I don't know why, but the 2-4, the February 4th one is not on there. So let me go in here and actually pull up one of our opportunities that we had on dollar yen. This should have been a great trade as far as the dollar yen goes, which is screaming higher right now. But let me zoom out a bit and show you kind of the opportunity that we had on this hourly chart. Let's go back in here. Turn the stream off. There we go. And zoom in just a bit. There we go. And I need to change this to an hourly chart. There we go. Here's an opportunity that we had this week. One of the things that we really liked doing was we liked buying dollar yen. And yes, I do know the dollar yen is up damn near 200 pips off the non-farm payroll. Obviously, the market really enjoyed that non-farm payroll number when it came to the yen. But again, we are gonna let's do some review of some trades this week, because we always do like, for educational purposes, to be able to kind of look at what trades we had on. Here was our opportunity we had on dollar yen this week to trade into what we call a Garley pattern. We had a nice little A come down. We had a B come right back up. And then we had a C correction come right back down to the 78.6. One of the trades, here, let me zoom in a little bit on this. One of the trades that we really liked doing was buying dollar yen when it got, we always like buying dollar yen when it's at the lower end of this range, because dollar yen is one that we've considered trading in either direction, if you will. So we did get a buy signal right down in here, and there was a couple of opportunities to get in on this. We got a buy signal when it came down to the 78.6 level right in here. We put our stop 1 pip below this low right here, and we were looking for a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio on the trade for our first lot, which got taken off right in here. And then for the second lot, this is the one that I kept open through the non-farm payroll. Why? Because I had a free trade. I took off a 1-to-1 risk-reward on dollar yen, and I actually moved my stop to break even and just said, you know, the heck with it. I looked at it as kind of a free trade opportunity. And so when I saw the dollar yen come down, I had my stop at break even. So my worst case scenario was that I was going to capture a nice little quick, I would have locked in about 30 pips of profit. Non-farm payroll came out, and I would love to say that I participated in this big move, but I didn't. I had my second take profit level was right up in here at like the 117 level, the 117.80 level. I know I had told my students to close down your trades before the news announcement, but this was a different type of scenario in the fact that, you know, if you've already taken off a profit and you have a stop sitting there at break even, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with just kind of, if you have a free trade opportunity on, just rolling the dice a little bit, because I think that the non-farm payroll this morning was a roll of the dice, to be honest with you. Now that it's coming back up to these 119 levels, the dollar yen might be one that we might look at trading in either direction. You know, it's been going very strong. It's had a, you know, a nice little 170, 180 point move here to the upside. We could potentially look to trade it in either direction because it is kind of overexerting itself to the upside. Dollar yen going up by this amount, I'm assuming the fair values and the futures in the market as it's opening here are probably going nuts to the upside, because one thing that's driving this dollar yen up is probably stocks bracing for a nice bullish open. If stocks sell off at all, though, we could start to see the dollar yen come down, and we could actually look for a nice trade to the short side on dollar yen on a retracement. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if dollar yen, when you look at it on the daily chart, if it finds some kind of resistance here at the 119 level, because obviously it found a huge amount of resistance here at the 119 level. So we can take a look at that one also here in just a little bit. Another trade opportunity, and here let me change this back over to our 1 hour chart. Let me go to the euro dollar. We already have euro dollar over here, so let's just go ahead and all we have to do if we want to switch that middle chart over the euro dollar is just, that's our trade chart right there. Euro dollar also presented a nice opportunity from yesterday. Looking at it on the hourly time frame, I wrote an article on this on the euro dollar of how I'm not fooled in the least bit on the euro dollar. This little upward spike right up in here where the euro dollar was essentially, we were looking at the euro dollar coming up and getting stronger based on optimism of the Greek debt crisis. And then we had another spike up in here on the euro dollar. And if you've been in my classes at all, whether it be in my PitView live trading classes or in my Nurre FX trading courses, you know that I look for opportunities at any opportunity to short the crap out of the euro dollar. I'm going to look for it. And then we had another one right in here. If you caught this, we had another opportunity right in here where we had a nice little ABC correction come up to the 78.6 level, and this was a nice little trade right in here. It made a nice little bounce right off 78.6. The euro dollar was showing shorting, a lot of selling pressure on the 1 hour totals. Also, remember on our swing trades, quite often we're going to look for the 1 hour totals to go to either a -5 or a +5 for our swing trade opportunities. So this one gave a nice little sell signal. I actually took euro dollar off at a 1-to-1 risk reward and closed out that position because I was risking about 55, 56 pips on this trade. So I went ahead and closed that out at a 1-to-1 risk reward when that hit. So I wasn't able to participate in this full downward spike on the euro dollar right there, but that's okay. You know, captured a nice little profit on that. So that was another trade opportunity that we had from the other day. let's see here. Moving on, I'm just trying to get through some of these other charts here. Let me change this middle one to pound dollar, the 1 hour time frame. The dollar is ruling the day right now, folks. There's no doubt about it. When you're looking at pound dollar, euro dollar, dollar Swiss, there's no doubt the dollar is ruling the day. The one reason why we're looking at dollar Canadian right up in here is because it did have such good news in that tug of war battle. If we want to go contrary to the dollar today, counter trend to the dollar, we need to really look at this dollar Canadian as being the one that would give us a short situation. Plus, if the markets go up, there's a good chance we could get a spike in oil prices. So we'll keep an eye on that dollar Canadian right in there. Pound dollar is one to where I told students yesterday to try to be out of your trades before the non-farm payroll announcement. One thing that's interesting on the pound dollar when you look at it on the daily chart is you see this inverted head and shoulders pattern right in through here that occurred on the daily chart, a nice little reversal pattern. We've had tremendous amount of luck trading reversal patterns on the pound dollar. So what we were looking at yesterday is we already had a nice little double bottom break that we went over in class that gave us a nice little 100 pip move to the upside on the pound before it found resistance right here at 5,300. What we were looking for yesterday was if the pound were to make a sustained break on the hourly charts above that 5,300 level to look for opportunities to get in. If you would have bought in right up in here and put your stop below this low, obviously you would have been going sideways throughout the night going into non-farm payroll, and you probably would have closed that out at or around break even, since I did tell to say to get out on any type of bad news or I'm sorry, to get out before the non-farm payroll. I am tripping over my words this morning. Why am I doing that? But one thing to keep an eye out for on the hourly charts is because the pound has been very strong actually versus the dollar, is as we see retracements down in here, if you start to see the pound turn on these 1 hour totals as it starts to get into our retracement zone, I think maybe you could find an opportunity to buy the pound at a discount. So that's another trade scenario that we'll be looking for. Whenever this comes down between our 61.8 and our 78.6 levels, we call that a retracement zone. So as it comes down, we can let the dollar kind of peter out a little bit. If we see it and we see it start to turn, then we might be able to look for opportunities. You see the 1 hour totals, the dollar's really been turning, so these 1 hour totals are really showing a large amount of selling pressure on the pound, selling pressure on the euro. But if you see these 1 hour totals start to go to a +5 and you're in this retracement zone right down in here, why don't you just show us what the trade is, Steve? Okay. I tend to talk a lot and I don't get to the point very often. So you should be out at this point. Here's our retracement zone right down in here. We'll call this one of the other opportunities. So if it gets down into this retracement zone, which for those that are new to the class would be between 61.8 and 78.6% retracements. Look for a buy entry, and remember, one of the great things about using PitView is using this confirmation right up in here. Look for a buy entry if the 1 hour total goes to +5.0. But remember, that's the beauty of it, was we're going to wait for the market to tell us when to do that. Of course, your stop is going to be 1 pip below this 100% retracement right down in here. Which would be, let's see here, 1.51630. And then it's time for a weekend break. We've actually ended the week on a really positive note here, so it's always good when we make some pips back for the week. And then for limit 1, depending on where our entry is, whenever we put limit 1 and limit 2 on, limit 1 we look for a 1-to-1 risk reward. And then if we can get a nice bounce, we would look for limit 2 at I always like to meet trade on these, meaning I don't want it to have to break through to a new high, but a limit 2 up here right at 1.5319. And for those just joining our class, whenever I put limit 1 and limit 2, what that means is we split our trade in half. For example, if I'm doing 2 micro lots or 2 mini lots or 2 standard lots, depending on where you're at on that, what we do is when we get into an entry, when it gives us a signal, we split our trade in half to where once we reach a 1-to-1 risk reward based on our entry to our stop price, we'll take off half of our position. So if I have 2 micro lots on, I'll sell 1, and then I'll move my stop to break even to erase the risk on the trade. And then what we'll do is we'll look for a higher risk reward amount, which is one of the beautiful things about trading retracements. So I'll go ahead and snip this. There we go. I'll copy it, and I'll put that onto our trading sheet for the day. I'm really hoping I may have saved over our Wednesday class one, but that would have been a bummer. There we go. It's today February 6th? It is. All right, good. Pound dollar would be a nice little contrarian trade there. And we'll put that chart up in there. There we go. Swirled. All right. Now that we got that up there, let's go ahead and I'll delete the objects from that chart. Got a lot of objects on these charts this morning. There we go. Put that back in the middle. Let me go in. Let me switch this middle chart over to dollar Swiss again. See if that's giving us anything. Change the chart to a 5-minute chart. You can control this middle chart up here. You can control that middle chart just by clicking on the time frames and clicking on the chart. You can change all these charts around once you're connected with your MetaTrader. So let's see, we're at a negative 23 right now. So that gives us on our dollar Swiss, we're going to stick with the same scalping strategy on dollar Swiss. The only difference here is on scalping strategies for today, folks. The only one that you should take trades in possibly either direction on, maybe dollar Canadian on here. For the rest of them, I would say only look for buy signals. So on dollar Swiss, we're going to change our scalping strategy around to only take buys on a plus 20 on the 5-minute totals. So only buy trades. Only looking to take buy trades. So as these things come down and retrace, we're only looking to take buy trades. Minimum stop and profit level, we're going to keep that at 16 pips. If you do get in on a buy, if it goes plus 20, get out. If it goes negative 20, that's your alternative exit. And look for a limit of 1-to-1 risk reward. If you want to look for larger profit amounts, look at your swing highs and swing lows. But remember, just try to keep your risk as low as possible when it comes to your stops and take profits, because remember, you are scalping on that. But now that it has gone red, one thing that we do in our scalping strategy is, we already took our profit on it. So now that it's gone red, if it goes plus 20 again, that reloads the trade. That reloads us to be able to go long again if it goes to a plus 20. Now euro dollar, see, I have the pound dollar on here. Euro dollar, those are our retracements from the other day. Scalping strategy on euro dollar is going to be the same thing, only taking sell trades. So we're going to keep our scalping strategy the same on the euro dollar also. of only taking sell trades. So this goes minus 20, we'll sell. If this goes plus 20, we'll buy. And we'll go from there. Remember, next Monday we'll be convening again as a class. Remember, it's Friday. After about noon today, you'll probably see volatility. Even though we had a huge spike up today, and volatility obviously increased based on our, based on the non-farm payroll number. Just remember, we, as a class, we don't want to get too crazy when it gets to afternoon. You may see liquidity and volatility dry up a little bit, to where you can really you could probably look to get hit a little bit. All right, so here's dollar Swiss. It just went to a plus 20 once again. So that means we can go ahead and trade this. All we have to do is click the plus button. It went to a plus 20. We're going to do 16, 16. Go ahead and buy that again. See if we can't go challenge those highs. We'll watch this one close. If it comes back down, it's the only one giving us any type of buys in here, but you gotta like the totals the way they've been going. What was the spread on that? It's like 2.4 or something like that. 5-minute totals are still going up. See if we can't get another hit on that. Keep a close eye on this one. Euro dollar, we like the fact that it's retracing back up also, so keep an eye on euro dollar. Bids are coming in nicely on that. I don't even know, where did we enter on that? We got in a little late. We got a little late on the spike up there. I was a little slow on the trigger on dollar Swiss just then. We should be up about 6 pips, but the instructor was a little slow on it. It was at like the 6 level, so it's in the 60s when we got the plus 20, but snooze you lose, I guess. Long term, I'm still extremely bearish on dollar Swiss also, but we may hold off on any swing strategies and to let the market kind of iron out these levels over the weekend and come back in with some more swing strategies on Monday morning. We'll just see if we can't have a little bit of luck in getting some. Excuse me. Excuse me. Let's see here. Got the euro coming down a bit. Sorry, folks, my connection got lost there for a second. Let's see here. All right, so we'll put that off to the side a little bit. We'll see what can happen with that. Let me zoom in on this dollar Canadian right in here. And while we're watching dollar Swiss, since we're in that one, whoops. While we're watching dollar Swiss, we'll kind of come back over here to dollar CAD, and I'll talk about some opportunities there. Keep an eye on dollar Swiss though, because it's starting to, you see the imbalance. We love it when it goes plus 20, but any dramatic moves down, we might want to get out a little bit earlier so as not to give back our profits. Now dollar Swiss, remember this got up to like a plus 30. I'm watching this one close because we've already captured 16 pips and I don't want to give a huge amount of that back. So if I'm watching this 5-minute total real close because, you know, when it goes up to like a plus 30, plus 31 like it just did, you know, it's already made a 20% swing on the imbalances back down. So this might be a situation. Usually if it goes minus 20, we'll get out, but since it's already gotten to like a plus 30, plus 40, if it goes red at all, which it is, we're going to go ahead and close out our position. So close that out. There we go. So see, we only lost like 3 pips there. And see, it went negative 22, so we're out. So we gave back about 3 pips out of the 16 that we just made, which is fine. We don't want to get whipsawed in and out of these things. So we're kind of using, you got to kind of stay on your toes when you're looking at these imbalances. See, it's gone negative 27 now. So we saved ourselves quite a bit on that from not getting stopped out with our 16 pips. Technically, I probably should have made money on that. If I would have been a little bit faster on the trigger, I should have made about 2 or 3 pips, but ended up being down like 90 cents, so we ended up giving back like 3 or 4 pips. But now we're reloaded again, though. If it goes plus 20, we can go ahead and look to go short or long on that again. Not looking, and the only one I'm really looking to go contrary to the dollar on is right over here on dollar Canadian, because it's going to be a tug of war between their employment numbers on there. So let me bring this back over. So dollar Canadian, let me also zoom in on this chart over here a bit on dollar Canadian. Keep a close eye on dollar Swiss. Keep a close eye on euro dollar. And we'll go through this. Dollar Canadian. So look for sells on dollar CAD on the 5-minute totals. On dollar CAD here, let me pull up the order screen for that. Dollar CAD's sitting there right about 2.3, call it 3 pips. So look for this for a minimum stop and profit level. Look for a minimum on dollar CAD of 12 pips. And then, of course, the alternative exit would be a plus 20 on the 5-minute totals. There we go. So let me bring this back up real quick, kind of zoom in. And we'll snip that sucker. Nice. What did I just do? There we go. Dollar CAD, scalp strategy. Put the chart on there. Good to go. And we can just copy and paste this right on here because that'll be our exact strategy for scalping dollar CAD today. That would be the only one I'd look at to go counter to the dollar trend. There we go. Sweet. All right, put that back over in the middle here. Let's see what's shaking with some of these other currency pairs right in here. Got dollar Swiss almost back up at that plus 20 level. You see it's finding some resistance right in through here. It's kind of a higher, when you see it on the 5-minute chart, the fact that it's meeting some resistance in here, it makes it a little bit more uneasy for you because you would like to see it bouncing or breaking through these resistance levels, which it's right there. But let's go ahead. We'll take another buy. I'm going to go 16 and 16 and see if we can't make another. Let's see if we can't break this resistance level. Wrong chart. No, I think I'm on the right chart on dollar Swiss, right in here. Is it often that big red numbers, as on dollar Swiss, make no effect on price? No, a lot of times when the dollar Swiss goes to like really negative numbers, you might see a big drawdown to the downside. However, Christine, that is actually a very good question, because a lot of times on PitView, when you look at what market maker activity is, especially when you're looking at the shorter term totals, if you will, when things are correcting, when you get these types of corrections coming down, and market makers, other people with the market makers are starting to, let's say, take profits, if you will. When things are making higher highs and higher lows, we tend to want to trade more along with the trend, if you will. But that's not always the case of something we can do. Normally, if we go to big numbers on the negative totals, you'll see a bit more drastic downturn. But just like anything else, whether it be a stochastic, a MACD, which I don't really like to compare PitView to because I think it's a different animal altogether. In signs of consolidation, when market makers are really shifting their totals back and forth, oftentimes, if there is a lot of momentum to the upside, in this case the dollar, you won't see a huge drastic change to the downside on dollar Swiss if there's already kind of an implied prevailing trend of being long the dollar. Like right now, what causes a large amount of the topside, the upward movement that you see in the dollar today? It's people basically going in and buying up dollars, at the market, at whatever ask price comes in. So you'll sometimes see a big shift to the sell side, especially following a fundamental announcement like this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to make a large move down. Right in here, for example, we didn't see a big move to the upside when it went plus 20, because we're looking, we see it up there, right near that resistance level, and you see that every time it comes near that resistance, it's coming down a bit. We're kind of trying to get in as early as we can, but again, if this goes negative again, I'll probably get out. because I don't want to give back too much. Yeah, take that off the table. All right, so we're back where we started. Well, actually, we're up a little bit. We're up about, I think we're up like probably about 3 pips at this point, 3 or 4 pips. But this going negative again, you know, this is where the whipsaws can come in any market with any indicators. We're sitting right at this resistance level. When it started coming up, I would like to see it blowing through this resistance. If it does, we could get a large amount of upside move. See, if it goes plus 20 again, this is where the swing, the scalping strategy, if you will, that's where oftentimes we can start to get a little bit of whipsaw is when these things are in a state of consolidation. Like right in through here, we have this little ascending triangle formed in here. We would love to see this go to a plus 20 and also see this break out to the upside. Since I've already tried it twice, since I've already tried it twice on that plus 20 and kind of drew our count down a little bit, we're still on the plus side for today. I'm still on the plus side for quite a bit for today, but now that we've kind of gone in and gotten whipsawed twice out of this, what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to wait to see if this goes plus 20 again. We should probably use a little bit of confirmation and see if we can't get a candlestick that's starting to go through. At least we don't need a touch, or we don't need it to close, but at least start to see some momentum here go to the upside. PitView can sometimes predate, you know, kind of like the first trade we had on dollar Swiss. It was very much preemptive to the move. It preceded the big move up. When it goes plus 20, negative 20, and it's in a state of consolidation, sometimes it's just the market makers coming from bid to ask, and just kind of evening the market out, which is causing this. When we see it go plus 20 and we see it start to break through this resistance, that's probably what we're going to use for our strategy here going forward, because I don't want to get stuck in this little level again. That's what just happened to us. It happened to us twice in a row. But it was worth a shot because these things have been breaking out to the upside. So now that we've tried it twice in a row and up about 3 pips, we'll kind of calm ourselves down a bit. Let's see here. Let me bring this back to the middle here. Dollar Canadian's right over in here. Got Euro dollar. Still consolidating right down in here. It's kind of finding their lows a little bit. So good news is we have ended the week on a positive note here. We've captured, it wasn't like last week to where we had a huge amount of profits, upwards of 500 pips, but we still made some very nice profits here for the week. So remember what I always say on Fridays is when I used to work on the trading floor, we'd go to Ceres, this bar at the Chicago Board of Trade, and when you've had a good week, you'd always tell your buddies at the trading desk, you would say, hey, I've had a good week. Drinks are on me at Ceres. And the last thing you want on a Friday is to go from being the buyer of drinks to having to have drinks bought for you because you've lost it all at the end of the week. You've lost your mojo, if you will. So I always try to be a bit cautious on Fridays, and you've heard me say that before. All right, still sitting here looking at this. This dollar Canadian, this is one you can kind of see there's a bit of a correlation between dollar Swiss and dollar CAD over here, but I think this one would give us the best opportunity to go short because you might see some CAD buyers come in. Especially with their nice little employment report. We won't let the Swiss fool us again right in here. Let me go ahead. I'm going to zoom in on. I'm going to zoom in on euro dollar over here too, so we can kind of get a better view on it. Not really looking to go short on dollar Swiss here, but I would be willing to take a short on dollar CAD. Again, just watching things through here. And if you've already captured some nice profits for the week, you know, there's nothing wrong with taking the rest of the day off, which is probably what I should be doing, but what the hey, we're in a live trading class, right? What I would say for today, while we're kind of looking at all these, what I would say for today, without a doubt, though, is certainly afternoon today. If you like doing these scalping techniques, if it gets to be after the noon time frame, I would say just kind of hang it up for the day. After the European and London bank traders leave the market at noon, I think that your probability is probably lying just kind of hanging up your hat for the day if you're a scalper. This afternoon, you might see some volatility with the stock market and the underlyings, but you know, PitView tends to work its best when it's not, when we have a little bit more participants in the market as far as liquidity providers go. And Friday afternoons have certainly whipsawed us quite a bit if you're looking at the totals. See, CAD's making a little bit of a move. Things have really calmed down here since the payroll announcement. But we could still be in store for some moves here. Still looking at these three. Some of these are a little close, just going sideways, really. I'm going to switch this middle chart over real quick. I want to kind of go through some of our other trading scenarios. Let me, what's pound dollar doing? Let me switch that middle chart over to a 1 hour chart. Still at a -4, so that's not giving us any type of signal at this point. What's dollar yen doing? Probably still hanging right on the highs there. Dollar yen has been full of all kinds of craziness. 180 points to the upside today. The problem with scalping dollar yen today, if somebody's asking that question, well, why don't we go long? Look how much it's, you know, look how far it's going up right in here. Is, you know, you can look for other opportunities to buy dollar yen. It's just when things get that overextended, 180 point move. I mean, it was great for the market, don't get me wrong, but we generally like to see a little bit more than that as far as we would like to see it coming down a little bit to give us some room to go. And of course, I'll go ahead and switch this one right over in here. I'll switch that middle one back over to dollar Swiss. Just pull up the chart there. All right, we got a -20 on euro dollar. That's one that we've been looking for. So let's go ahead and trade that sucker, because this one is breaking through support, so we like that. This one's a 12er, so take profit, stop loss and take profit is going to be 12 pips. And let's go ahead and go short the euro dollar. Euro dollar tends to move a little bit better as far as this is a 12-point move that we're looking for here. Tends to be a little bit better when it comes to the 5-minute totals. This is one that I will keep an eye on it, but we'll kind of see where it goes from here. Let me zoom in a bit. Only looking for 12 pips on that. Let me keep that dollar Swiss here on the side. This one is breaking through support. You see the support level right in here. When this went -20, it was breaking through that support, so we kind of like that one. Unlike dollar Swiss, it's still hanging right up there. We do like the fact that euro dollar was breaking through there. But it's coming right back up. Let's see what it can do from here. It's kind of right near our entry. This one's getting kind of close. My stop is like really tight on that. I'd almost rather put it above this swing high right up in here. I always initially put in these trades for like the minimum stop and profit points, but on euro dollar, let's zoom in on that sucker a little bit. It might stop us out beforehand, but since it's breaking through that support level, I would rather have my stop at least above a swing high. That's not really a swing high because that's a working candle. Where's my entry at on that? Let's see, that would only be another 9 pips. I'm going to move my stop here for a second on that. I don't like it being that close. Where did I just put that? I put it above this swing high right up in here. I just want to see where I'm at on this because, let's see, I got my stop about 20 pips away. See if we can't challenge that bottom. What I just did there, folks, we initially put our stop 12 pips away. That's what I have my default settings on for my trades. I want to make sure that I have it, you know, at least at the minimum amount of pips, which is based on our average spread on these currency pairs. When I go back to the chart, unless something's moving fast, you know, what we like to do is kind of an alternative is putting our stops too tight can sometimes stop us out premature to directional movement. So I don't want to really get whipsawed too badly out of that. So I try to go with more of a stop that's going to give me, you know, at least a little bit more probability of being wrong. I always tell people I like to put my stop orders where I'm wrong. And if this goes to a +20, see, euro dollar is not as volatile as the dollar Swiss is. If this goes to a +20, I'll still close out this trade, but I'd rather have it above a swing high. Let's see where we can go from here on euro dollar. You know, you would think the euro dollar could probably go down and retest the 113 levels today. That would be a nice little spot for it to get down to, especially if bears are in control of the euro. So that 113, let's see here, down here at the 113.10 level, right down in here, you would think that euro dollar could probably easily go down to those levels. Let's see what happens here. Question. Currently, I have my stop 20 pips away, and I have my limit 20 pips away. You see, I have my price here, 113.304, and my take profit actually should be 113.104. There we go. The The reason why is I'm looking for a 1-to-1 risk reward. I moved my stop to be right up above this swing high. Got a couple of pips in the trade right now. I think looking for 20 on this with the way it's reacted today is not such a bad thing. We're up about 2 pips right now on it. See if we can't capture a little bit more. Still in negative territory. I usually don't like to leave the class hanging when we have open trades on. That's why I haven't closed down shop yet. For the dollar Swiss right in here, I know we're coming to a point where it's starting to get to a plus 20 again. We would like to see it breaking through. The reason why we were comfortable taking this euro dollar trade is because we saw it breaking through this support level. I know it's at a plus 21, but I would like to see it heading up past that. It just did. I'm gonna look at it a little bit more though. You too, Nick. Have a great weekend, buddy. Good trading week this week. Good job. If the dollar is going to make a more sustained move to the upside, you would think it's going to do it on the euro too. It's almost like taking 2 of the same position. It's sitting right there at resistance. You can never go wrong by watching the market. See, it's still sat there. I'm not waiting for a close necessarily, but I am kind of watching it diligently to make sure that I'm not setting myself up for another whipsaw scenario. This thing is really bought today. Look how much bid activity there is on dollar Swiss here. Pretty crazy. Right at about break even on the euro right now. And remember, I have my stop right up above this little swing high right up in here. But again, I don't want to leave you folks hanging, so we'll stay online here for a second. Dollar yen over there. Got dollar CAD up. Still having a really hard time breaking these levels. At least euro dollar right down in here has some more clearance than the others. Now, dollar Swiss really hasn't made much clearance right down through here. Dollar CAD is still pretty interesting right over in here. Yes, I'm still here. I'm just I'm watching this little candle in here. I'm making sure that it doesn't come back down. Just kind of giving it a second. I'm already short. I already have a long dollar position, so I can afford to be. I'm already short the euro dollar, so I can afford to be a little bit more cautious. All right, stay on for a little bit longer. See if I can't get some kind of run here on the euro to the downside. Still looking at the 5-minute totals. If it goes to a plus 20, I'll exit either way. Did somebody have a question out there? If you'd like, you can go ahead and type your question out. If you raise your hand, I have no idea what your go ahead and type your question out if you can, Taiwo, or if you do have a question. All right, what time is it? I'm 15 past on here. It's like watching paint dry after so much activity. See, going negative again. We're at right about 10:15 here. Arg. I am trading 15-minute binaries. Do I need a 15-minute indicator or a 1-minute indicator? How do I know when to place the trade? I don't trade any 15-minute binaries. I generally trade the spot market. But I always say that if you're triggering your trades off a 15-minute time frame, then your minimum trigger chart should be or trigger indicator should be a 15-minute indicator. So what you would want to look at is as far as the imbalances go, and here let me change one of these over here. I'll change dollar CAD over since we're already kind of looking at these dollar Swiss and euro dollar trades. But here, let me go in here and pull this up here. See here, minimize that window. So I got like the 15-minute totals here on the dollar Canadian. A lot of what I look for on any of the totals, if you will, is going to be on the minute-by-minute charts, like 15-minute, 5-minute, 1-minute. The large imbalances, generally, what precedes generally some of the bigger moves in the market is when the minute-by-minute totals go to a plus 20 or a minus 20. The hourly totals, like the 1 hour and the 4 hour, I'll generally look for a +5 or a -5. But on the minute by minute, whether that's 1 minute, 15 minute, 5 minute, what I generally would look for to get into a trade is going to be +20 or -20. So if you're trading binaries, and if you're looking at, where's this thing going to be from the current price, and you see this go to a +20 or a -20, that's generally what's going to precede a larger move in that direction. So again, +20, -20 on the minute by minute, 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minutes. Me personally, I don't trade binaries. My history is I was an options trader for the first 8 years of my career. I was a senior options trader for a large options trading desk, but I traded more standardized options like index options, equity options, spreads, straddles, and that kind of thing. I know binaries are big right now, but you would want to treat it like a spot trade. You treat it like a spot trade, and that's what I generally look for what I call actionable imbalances. The worst thing people can do with PitView is when it goes green, when it goes red, taking just blind buys and sells. But if you are trading 15-minute binaries, when this thing goes +20, -20 on the 15-minute time frame, that's generally what's going to precede a larger move to the upside or to the downside. Now, I don't know what underlying strategy you use to trade binaries, so I can't really give you a better explanation as far as when do I get into a trade. But all I can say is what I look for as far as the actionable imbalances go. And if I'm trading off a 15-minute period, I'm generally going to be looking at a minimum of a 15-minute pit view or pair view. And you can also use multiple time frames to confirm. But I generally will also look at the totals, because I believe the totals also give us probably the best view of the underlying market, instead of looking at individual market makers. Another question that came up on here, and if any of you need to scoot, that's perfectly fine. I usually just stay in these to make sure that everything's let's see here. Do you enter long on dollar Swiss when it breaks resistance, but the 5-minute totals are not yet +20? For dollar Swiss, I am looking for this to go to a +20, and I've been kind of feeling this one out a little bit because I like to see it. I always look at the candle right in here. I like +20. Technically, right now, the way we were trading dollar Swiss earlier is I would be in this trade right now. But I've been looking and looking and looking. I've been kind of waiting for this thing to pop to the upside, and it just keeps on coming up to this resistance level and coming down. So what I'm really doing on dollar Swiss, since I'm already short euro dollar, which means I'm long the dollar versus the euro, I'm really waiting to see if I can get some time, and I'm on the 5-minute here. So the +20 is not good enough for me, because I've kind of learning from your scalping mistakes intraday is you see this type of consolidation. I would really like to see it start to break up above this consolidation, which it's come close several times to coming up here, but that's why I've kind of been giving it a little bit of a delay on the price action, because I've just been kind of delaying it to see, okay, is this +20 going to finally break me out of this consolidation range? And I'm not as quick on the trigger as I was earlier, because again, I'm already short right over here on the euro dollar, so I can exercise a little bit of patience on this. But yeah, that's really what I've been kind of looking at, is just looking at the candle and seeing if this candle is going to give me some kind of probability of making a break up. And let me see here. There's another question on here. I want to bring that up real quick. You trade binary. I have taught classes on binary options in my Nurre FX class. I have some short videos on it. I don't trade them actively. I've taught them before. I've taught people how to trade them, but I've never. It's one of those things, because I'm an options trader. When they were first introduced, people kind of looked at me because it was a brand new product. They were like, "Hey, Steve, you traded options. Can you teach binaries?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, I guess." I mean, they're pretty simple because they either exercise, at zero or at their full exercise amount if they're at or above the strikes. I've kind of stayed away from binaries because I consider myself to be a little bit more of a spot trader. I'm kind of more addicted to trading the spot market. Not addicted, but I'm much more in tune to it. But it's not to poo-poo binaries. I do teach them. I do teach students how they work, and I have some strategies for binaries. But to answer kind of a couple of questions on here, I've never created any type of trading strategy using PitView with it. All my strategies generally revolve around kind of some of the original strategies that I taught when they were first introduced to the market. All right, so we have the dollar coming down just a little bit here. Where am I at here? I'm up, what, 2 pips? 1 pip? At a -9 here. All right. What I'm going to do here, folks, because I don't want to keep you on here all day, but for right now, here's how we'll kind of handle everything. Here, let me change that over. Go to my total view here. Change that back to a 5-minute. Minimize that window. There we go. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep this euro dollar trade open. I've already made some money overnight on the euro dollar, so I don't want to give much back. So the ongoing strategy here is going to be this, these totals right here on the 5-minute. I'm short. You can see my trade down in here. I've got a 20 pip stop and a 20 pip take profit. I switched it around a bit just because in our class we like to use a minimum stop and take profit point based on the spread that we pay, because we never want the cost to exceed the cost of our trade to exceed the probability. So I usually always go in and initially I'll put it in at a minimum stop and take profit point based on 12 pips, 16. We prefer putting our stop and take profit above and below swing highs and lows. So that's why I changed that around a little bit and added a little bit more, because I prefer to have my stop. Putting your stop too tight can stop you out premature to directional movement. Putting it too far away can often, give you unnecessary risk. So I think that's a better stop and take profit point. It's a little bit of discretion I sometimes use on that, but a lot of times when you're thinking on the fly, you have to be a little bit discretionary. You have to have a little bit of a discretionary mindset. So what also will exit out of me of this euro dollar trade, I'm going to keep it on there for 20 and 20. But if I see the 5-minute totals go to a plus 20, that is generally our drop dead point. That's when we'll say, hey, no, we need to get out of this sucker. Dollar Swiss, I would really like to see it come up above these highs. Now, if you see it start coming down and making swing lows, like right in through here, okay? If you see it start to come down and make more swing lows, like right in through here, and you have a little bit of clearance to the upside, then you can go in and possibly do it, give the trade give it another try, if you will. But we're looking for plus 20 for buy opportunities on dollar Swiss, but quite frankly, I'd prefer if we can get through this resistance level at some point. Whether you look for a 5-minute close above that, if you just watch the candle, and if you start to see it moving into new highs, that would be another way to do it, and look for 16 stop, 16 profit. If you're looking for, these are both long dollar trades. If you're looking for something contrary to the dollar, look at dollar Canadian right over in here for a potential short opportunity. That will be our kind of contrarian trade today, because it did have better than expected employment numbers. But other than that, if you've been trading along with me all week and you've captured some nice profit, again, don't be afraid to hang up your hat. And the other thing, if you are going to continue scalping for the next hour and a half, if you would like the shorter term trades that we do, try not to, past noon on Fridays is kind of a dangerous time to do it when we have a huge amount of market participants leave, mainly over in London and Europe. And volatility and liquidity can dry up a bit, especially after a large precipitous move that we've had today. So be cautious on that. And other than that, I don't really have anything else for you. When we meet again as a class on Monday morning, we'll go over some more swing type strategies, maybe some longer term game planning for next week, as far as some good swing trades off the hourly charts. So just keep an eye on it. Try not to give anything back to the market today. We've been kind of cautious in our approach so far. So far so good. I will chat at everybody on Monday. Thank you for coming in. Do let me know if you have any questions. Remember, you can email me at steve.nurre@pitview.com. Here, I'll go ahead and write it on here. Let's see here. steve.nurre@pitview.com. And let me know if you need anything. That actually should be lowercase. And I will chat at everybody next week. And I'll send out all the notes for today's class and the recording as soon as it's done uploading. So thanks for coming in, everybody. Happy trading. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.